Listen, business. I was an economics major, by the way, and I confess now there are a lot of things about capitalism I do not like. I'm telling you, it's almost like being in the jungle. If you think about it, it's a pretty harsh world. But I didn't create it, so I ask people, don't blame me for its existence. It exists. That's the jungle you operate in. And you've got to learn how to be able to do that, navigate those waters successfully. Any business, if you can create more meaning to what people are doing so that the goal is not just a capitalistic goal. And even today, more than 10 or 20 years ago, people care a lot more about where they're going to put their time. Our ability to hire is better than it's ever been. We attract people because we care an awful lot about what we do.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
We're going to talk about employee excellence today. Hopefully this is something that you want to bring into your organization, into your leadership, and really reap the benefits of employee excellence. Our special guest today is the CEO of Budderfly, and they are a energy company. They do some really unique stuff. You'll have to check out what they're doing in the world because they're on the cutting edge of helping us really change the way our environment runs, but they're doing it in a sort of capitalistic way. We kind of dive into some of that today in the conversation with Al. Al Subbloie is really a force to be reckoned with when it comes to this employee excellence. He's got some really excellent thoughts about creating meaning at work. And if you don't have meaning, it's really hard for people to perform at their highest level. You want to make sure you have some meaning. You also want to make sure that you are being the kind of leader that they want to follow. And so we unpack this in today's episode about employee excellence with Al. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm an executive coach. We do leadership development for managers to become leaders. We also do cultural transformations that really help you create the kind of company that you love to work at and that you don't want to sell. But maybe if you do, it'll have maximum value because it's self-expanding. That's a lot to say that we work with fast growth companies that are in a bit of chaos but they're still driven to create more predictable success as they grow and impact. And it creates a lot of need for leadership. And so we focus on leadership as we help companies grow and scale. If there's anything we can do to help you, make sure you reach out. If you're curious about what we are doing and you want to kind of peek into that, you can join us for a call that we have with guests that have been on the show before, some of my clients, all CEOs or executives of fast growth companies. The topic this next month coming up is how to have tough conversations. This is the book that I'm writing with my wife. And so we're going to have some special giveaways there. It's going to be kind of a launch party, if you will. Just join us for that next executive virtual conversation. Just go to coreelevation.com/virtual conversations, sign up today. And if that topic doesn't resonate with you or you can't make it, you can sign up anyway. You'll be notified the next time we do something, but you'll also be able to get the download and the executive summary that we create. It's world-class. I really am proud of what we're doing here with those virtual conversations. If you want to join us, it's absolutely free. coreelevation.com/virtual conversations. Now here's the interview with Al. Al, how are you?
I'm good, Gene. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. I'm really excited about having a conversation about employee excellence with you and, really how do we activate that in others? But before we dive into that, I want you to tell us about your company, Budderfly.
Well, Gene, I'll try to give you the nickel tour. I decided to go into the energy space. I don't come from it, by the way, and I actually like not coming from a space because you can have a fresh set of perspectives, and believe me, the energy space needed that. And we created a very unique business model to get rid of all the friction that exists in that space, marked primarily by too many solutions, some very technical, a tremendous amount of capital necessary for companies to buy those solutions, and not a lot of measurement going on because the utility bill is very difficult to read, as it may be for you at home. So we built a unique model where we outsource it. We take it over for the customer. We actually wrote a very specialty billing system that enables us to give them a discount so they can get budget relief right away, which we all love. And then we spend our own capital to do all the right things to upgrade those facilities, leading to roughly a 30% reduction in usage. And we do two things. It's green squared, I guess. We are able to save our customers money, and at the same time, we can save the world. And there's enough outcome in this that it pays for everything. And we're the last ones on the list to make money, which we should be. If we're good at what we do, I like to take responsibility for that. So that model is working. It's been great for our customers in the market, and it's a testament, obviously, to our growth.
I did a little bit of energy work. I'm going to tell you how old I am when I say this. Right out of college, 93, 94, 95, I was in the electric utility industry, writing books and doing industry research with all of the utilities, mostly in the United States, but also internationally as well, too. What do you think is going on with the energy industry over the next 3 years that we should know about?
Well, first of all, we all know the energy industry, which started to deregulate when you were doing all that and then literally stopped and hasn't picked that up again. But now with the whole climate change, focus on energy transition, electric vehicles, whether they're in vogue or out of vogue, tremendous amount of stress in the energy business right now. And frankly, some of it's justified. It's not an overly efficient market. The way it's set up with the partial regulated and deregulated model, is it more behind the meter with solar and wind? We need too much land. There's the environmental, pressures of all that. So I think it's an exciting time to be able to be successful within that industry. But I do think it takes more creativity to be able to navigate all those complex waters right now. And we're seeing some of that. The pricing is generally going up. We're seeing outages that are, fivefold more than they have been historically. At least for Budderfly and our employee base, we're really excited to have a big impact on making it better for our customers and people in general. And Gene, I always say I've aligned capitalism with saving the world. And I hate to say you have to have a selfish capitalistic mechanism to have enough money to actually save the world. So we create two value propositions. And I preach that very often out there to our people.
I actually like that. I will joke you when I say that at one point in time, I might've been one of the people in the world that knew the most about meter reading because I wrote books about it, the technologies and whatnot. So I'm glad to see things are changing. And I'll also add on, I never would put creativity and electric utilities together, but apparently you're saying that that's where it's going. I'll take your word for it. Al, you've come here not to talk about your business and the utility industry, but you talk about employee experience. So I don't know if you have this broken down. I don't know if you speak about it out there, but I know that when our team researched you, your company's not only successful, but you have the kind of employees that you would say deliver excellence. How do you do that?
So, Gene, a couple comments. This is my third company. I started my first company when I was 24 years old, and I tend to do them for 15 or 16 years. So a lot of experiences, not all perfect. You can probably guess. What I like about the industry that we're in, normally value propositions in capitalism are driven through profit creation. And it's really capitalism itself can be quite a harsh methodology, as you know. The energy space is a bit different because the amount of carbon that you can reduce from the air, and I always try to describe a visual to people. Carbon has a lot of weight to it, and it all goes in the air that we get to breathe. At a minimum, why do we do all that? We should reduce it. And the fact that our employee base, and I make this point very clear to them, that we could both have a capitalistic approach, make our investors money, make our employees money, but directly aligned with doing good for the environment. I love having two major value props. Very few businesses have that. They typically have one value prop. You can have social responsibility, but believe me, that doesn't find its way to the front of what your objectives are. Whereas in the energy space, if you do it right, and that's why I built the model the way I did, you can really have both objectives. It's had a lot to do with the morale at Budderfly right now. People are excited about what we're doing to help the world directly, and it's measurable.
I've always encouraged my clients to have a better way to tell the story. It's not about making money, especially to their employees. It is part of it, but there's the impact that we make. And how does that connect the dots to employee excellence?
Listen, business, I was an economics major, by the way. And I confess now, there are a lot of things about capitalism I do not like. I'm telling you, it's almost like being in the jungle. If you think about it, it's a pretty harsh world, but I didn't create it. So I ask people, don't blame me for its existence. It exists. That's the jungle you operate in. You've got to learn how to be able to do that, navigate those waters successfully. Any business, if you can create more meaning to what people are doing so that the goal is not just a capitalistic goal. And even today, more than 10 or 20 years ago, people care a lot more about where they're going to put their time. Our ability to hire is better than it's ever been. We attract people because we care an awful lot about what we do. And I say to people, I created a capitalistic model because I had to be able to accomplish that better goal for a better environment for the world. And we're doing it directly. This year, we're going to spend about $120 million of our own capital to do the right thing to reduce carbon in the air directly. But that $120 million gets to make money while it also saves the world. So I need those two aligned perfectly to be able to accomplish that goal. And I talk to my employees all the time about this, and they're excited about it. Our internal surveys show people care a lot about what they're doing and making a difference out there. So you can bring them both together. Whereas, there's a lot of businesses, it's hard to do that.
Well, I was going to ask you, since there's a lot of people listening in this that aren't, changing our cultural, saving our ozone layer and saving our environment. So how do you create more meaning in jobs that might be a little bit, we have CPA firms and we have investment firms and we have other business service firms. How would you suggest them go about connecting to that meaningful job that employees are attracted to?
Well, it's a great question. As you know, Gene, I got my hands full doing my own thing with Budderfly, but I love business. I've actually turned a number of boards down. I tell a number of the people that I do advise, I'd rather give free advice. It's just easier for me to do. Because once I'm in, Gene, I'm like all in to people's goals and objectives. That said, even think about Budderfly. We require wonderful services from accounting firms, from law firms. We have a tremendous amount of vendor relationships, even a contractor who's out there putting in HVAC or fixing HVAC units or lighting, whether it's an electrician, a plumber. Their jobs are incredibly important today. The infrastructure we have in this country is in bad shape. And one of the reasons is that, I'd say that the corporate attitude to some degree is a bit short term, which you're probably aware of. And because of that short-term nature, there's a lot of work that we have to do. And whether you're an accounting firm, a law firm, pick industries you want to do business with that have an impact on the world, even if it's a percentage of those, and pick partners that have common goals that you're chasing and achieving to make sure that it's important. My message is, again, it's not just about profit as the number one objective. And it's funny, you get more profitable when it's not your number one objective. It's funny how it works that way, right? Life has a way of being that way.
Al's been talking about creating meaning. One of the things I'm urging my clients to do is to collect the stories of not just profitability for the company, but of the impact that profitability makes. I remember one of my clients was stuck selling and she wasn't sure about how to reach out. And what I noticed was she felt like selling was slimy. And I saw this as an opportunity because the company wasn't telling the stories, but I was able to pull out of her the stories of impact that the work that they do allowed them to do. And she was overjoyed with knowing that she's a part of that. In a short moment, few minutes, we were able to create more meaning for the work that she does. Now, imagine that throughout the organization. Do a better job collecting these stories and sharing the stories about the meaning that your company is creating, and people will feel a higher sense of meaning. Back to Al. I agree with that. I want to go back into the actual employee excellence. Obviously, you want to hire people who are excellent. They're talented, they're driven. Do you have any specifics that you're looking for in order to hire the right people if you're looking for employee excellence?
Well, in our market, we have about 310 people now. We've probably hired, 150 to 170 in the last 2 years. It's quite a few. I purposely make sure, first of all, we're big believers in diversity of experience and backgrounds. It's really important. We will bring specific talent from industry in, but we also like to bring people from outside of industry in. We do like that they care about our mission and our vision. So in our interviews, we will talk about that. And really, you could tell the people that really want to make a difference and get that done. it's crucial to make sure that the vision is understood by everybody. Very crucial. With that said, we'll also bring talent that has specific industry experience, and I like to have a mix of that. Look at myself, Gene. I don't come from the energy space. Literally, just read a lot. I've become an expert, obviously, but I come in without that experience. That was a big advantage for me. So, I bet you close to 40% of our employee base doesn't come from the energy space. And that's an asset from my perspective. But we have software talented folks, we have artificial intelligence talented folks, we have literally electricians, we have plumbers, we have marketing folks, sales folks, really from all different industries. I'm a big believer in having diverse sets of experiences that you are able to bring together.
I also want to go into after they're hired, right? You have employees that sometimes lose that sense of engagement, is the word that's kind of floating around a lot, but the drive, the sense of ownership. I don't know the way you would frame that, but how do you make sure that people continue to provide employee excellence at their time with you?
Listen, there's a lot, but let me just give you a couple. Coming out of COVID, we all had to deal with the in-office flexible remote thing. We landed with a hybrid. And I staying close to the business, you could probably tell I'm a pretty hands-on CEO. I visit customers, I'm with our team members, with prospects, tech meetings, you name it. We landed on a hybrid because we did really well through that experience. So I was able to experience the fact that the culture of the company was able to really exceed our goals, but not necessarily have to be in the office every day. So that does present other challenges, the communication challenges, to make sure that we're aligned. We do live in a virtual world. Of course, we all use, Zoom and Teams and other products. The one thing that I have done, and it's simple for me, I do a company meeting, all hands. I was doing it every 4 weeks. I moved it to every 6 weeks, but I won't go any longer than that. And we do an hour to an hour and a half. And I talk right from the heart. Years ago, I used to bring my whole team up. It got to be a bit orchestrated. And, I don't like orchestration. I like discussions like this, Gene, where you and I can have a discussion. I have the same discussion with 310 people. And we talk about our challenges, and I'm an open book. We talk about the good things, the bad things. I give people updates on things they might be interested in. People have come up to me and said, I really feel like I'm part of the growth strategy. I'm like right there. And by doing so in one fell swoop, we could just all be talking about the same thing. So we do the same thing all the way through the ranks of the company. And the whole company acts with that in its culture. And again, think about it, I'm able to do it. I know the business practice, I'd rather not. I'd rather just talk from the heart about what we have going on as a company. That's made a big difference to keep everybody bonded.
Al's been talking about all hands meetings, and one of the elements I love to include in that he didn't mention, so I'll add it here, is to be able to take the values that you guys have as an organization and allow people to share where people are living or demonstrating those values. If you really understand the importance of values, you'll know that this is important. But in your all hands meetings is a perfect time for you to collect those stories again of the values being lived and catching people and sharing those accolades, maybe even giving out an award. You don't have to do it every time. Maybe it's once a year, once a quarter, but really think about the shout outs that you do. The person's name plus the story become the shout out is a very powerful element that you can include in your all hands. Back to Al. We're starting to land this plane, Al, and I want to ask you about leadership. I'm sure with multiple companies, multiple successes under your belt, and also some failures, you've learned quite a bit about leadership. What is your core principles that drive you as a leader that really do create this employee excellence?
Wow. I'm a big believer. Well, it depends a little bit on industry. Gene, you listen to me and you'll come to the conclusion. I'm a growth CEO. I've learned that about myself. I love it. I'm a terrible shrinking CEO. I don't shrink well. I don't want to do it. I'm not good at it. And you have to, if an audience is going to listen, you have to put yourself, what are you good at? So I'm going to appeal to the growth mechanisms. And in growth is about vision, but it goes further than that. I picked a total addressable market on purpose. It was exciting, even though the industry is old, the opportunity was big. So it required a lot of creativity. That creativity requires a unique solution. Therefore, you have to build that unique solution and model, which we did. There's some markets that aren't that way. You already have a solution. You got to get better at selling it. We happen to pick one where we built it from scratch. When you're going to tackle something that tricky, you've got to, my view is you've got to over communicate all the time because you're innovating. Of course, the law of diminishing returns comes into play where you're at a point where you're innovating less over time and you're executing. And we're certainly in that position right now. But I purposely picked a market where the leadership skills would be driving towards vision, constant communication, flexibility with people, because I trust they're going to do the right thing. We all go for common goal. And the over communication makes sure that we absolutely do that. We all have common purpose. We're not just here to make money. We're here also to save the world. We do both directly. So we measure it, we report it. And those skills in leadership require me to be out there with them every day. I also promote what I say to people, please ask for forgiveness, not permission. Say it all the time. It's cultural. I promote it. I want people to take enough risk to make a mistake because, Gene, you know, and you probably learned this in your life, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from when you win. And I know it's a hard lesson to learn because we all get that thing in our belly when we lose something. I've learned to embrace it. I tell people I want $1 million of value out of that loss. That's what I want. I want you to learn so we get better and stronger. So again, I promote these concepts internally, call for what you want. Probably one other comment, I'm going a bit long on this topic, but I'm very passionate about it. I used to think that the harder I worked, the more successful I'd be. And I used to use the term, I might have said it at times before, even publicly, that we're going to rhino our way through this problem. And then one day someone came up and said, Al, do you realize a rhino is like one of the dumbest animals on the planet? And it struck me. I said, you know, you're right. My leadership skill is more about my leadership than it is about my daily contribution of a task every day. Yeah. And I do find that young CEOs can often, where work equals success. And it's smarter, more creative work that equals success is a lesson that I've learned over the years.
I've got a tool inside the work I do that's a triangle, and it has anti-leader, which is kind of the bad side, right? Next level above that, it's the transactional leader. And you're describing a lot of people who feel like as a founder, they're so ingrained into everything. They're not picking their head up and driving strategy the way they should, or moving to the next levels, which is around really creating more leaders around them. And I know that that's been a very important part of your success, is not just, you know, you driving hard, but you creating and empowering those around you. I've heard, you know, a couple of themes play out of this. You really believe in transparency. You really believe in communication, being adaptable. All of those things are traits that I'm hearing over and over through these podcasts. So I really appreciate you adding to the story and being a part of our journey here and sharing your wisdom.
Well, Gene, that's the positive. Maybe the negative, it took me 2 prior companies to really get really much better at it. But if you wonder why Budderfly grew at 100% on, you know, over 100 million, and as you know, many people say to me, can you keep that up? And we're going to try. It's because of those learning experiences. So I also ask for forgiveness, not permission, and have to go through some of those mistakes and losses that we all make in life.
Thanks for being here.
Jane, thank you. Really enjoyed speaking with you.
Al brought the fire today. He is a force to be reckoned with, and I'm really excited about sharing this with you today. Employee excellence is not something to take lightly. And if you want to create that, you want to make sure you look at this as the playbook and you're able to create employee meeting. You're able to really presence that. You're able to create alignment. You're able to lead them the proper way for excellence. And a lot of the things that we talked about today, really everything, is directly in alignment with creating a fast growth company. All the things we talked about today, I've talked about in my work. And so really is a great to have Al on the show. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.